Okay, well, welcome to SDRs on Mars, the show where we talk to salespeople about being salespeople. We are on episode number 6, and I'm here with Chris Kerwin today. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Chris Kerwin. I am an SDR with Net2Phone Canada. One of the more recent hires was referred to the position through a family friend, Dominica, and it's been a lot of fun so far. Honestly, I really enjoy calling people. I like sales. I like the pressure. It kind of reminds me of my experience performing. I kind of had a decade in music, and the rush of being on stage is kind of the same rush you get in a sales call. You know, it's a bit different, but it's also, there are a lot of parallels in that you have to really kind of be present and dialed into the moment, and it kind of takes over the whole process. Like, all your faculties are just fixated on trying to get as much information out of however much time the client wants to give you as you possibly can, so you can be effective and successful.
That's an interesting comparison. I haven't heard that one a lot, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, active listening is like, it requires your attention for sure.
Yeah, and when you're performing, for example, the audience can give you in the first 30 seconds, it's like, the way you started the show is terrible, and if you don't change directions, you're not going to win the crowd over, and the next hour is going to be really, really, really tough.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so I'm a little bit curious, or I want to start, I guess, with the basics. So you're working with Net2Phone Canada, and what is your role with Net2Phone?
I'm a sales development representative, so I'm doing cold calling, kind of active marketing, qualifying, and evaluating businesses based off of their current phone systems and the infrastructure that they have, and trying to evaluate a way that Net2Phone Canada can position itself to offer some value to their current business.
Okay, cool.
In terms of,
and I'm going to dig into that a little more in a second too, but Net2Phone Canada is headquartered out of Ottawa. Are you working out of Ottawa, or where are you working from?
I am working out of Ottawa. I am actually remote outbound SDR. They have two sides of the team, the inbound and the outbound, and the outbounds are working from their homes. I am in Ottawa working out of my Jam Space yoga studio.
Nice, yeah. Do you get to practice yoga in it a lot?
Yeah, I do actually. Sometimes on lunch I'll do a couple of saunas, or I'll play my guitar.
Beauty. I need to be a little better at it, actually. My neck was giving me grief the other day.
Yeah, it's all the time at the desk.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Cool. So to dig into your process a little more, like, who are your target customers? Who are you trying to talk
to? Really, it's I try to get people on the phone who want to hear what I have to say. I feel like those are the most productive first touches. If I can get warm reception on a first call, usually I'll have a good conversation. That's really what I look for, is just to get going when I start my day, is just how can I get into a conversation as soon as possible. Sometimes I have to make more calls to do that, but once I'm warm, I find that it seems to be easier to get people on the phone, but I'm still new, so there are a lot of things that I'm learning about the role, like the technical side of things, how to really evaluate whether or not I'm actually coming from a position of offering value, or if I think I'm offering value, but I don't actually know if, because I'm new, you know?
Yeah,
it's
fair enough.
A little bit of that still that I'm working through.
And actually, so that's an interesting point right there. You mentioned that you're new, you are working out of the same city, but you're still mostly working remote at this point. So, like, tell me a little bit about that.
I really enjoy it. It's the first opportunity I've ever had to work remotely. It's fantastic. You know, you can grab a breath of fresh air in your own garden. If you need to take 5 minutes, you can make a coffee. I definitely miss the social aspects of working in an office with other people. You know, there's relationships that may be a bit harder to build remotely, but the way that things are set up, we have a lot of internal communication that I think allows people to, you know, if they make a bit of effort, you know, there is the capacity to develop relationships even if you're working remotely, and have a solid work culture, which is what I feel Net2Phone has to offer.
Nice, yeah. That's one of the reasons I like working with Net2Phone for sure. Cool. Okay, so now that you have let us know, you know, who the people are you're trying to talk to, kind of thing, you know, those decision makers or those people who can, you know, engage in conversation with you.
Yeah.
What are some of the objections that you run into consistently?
Like we have a phone system, that's the number one is that they're either, they're fine with what they have because it's not broke and they don't want to fix it, or they, they were in the market, our target market of people who are looking to switch to more modern cloud-based phone systems, but someone got there first. So that's really kind of what I'm encountering a lot of, is just people are switching. Perhaps I'm getting someone a week too late. So learning how to deal with those objections. I feel like sometimes they're recycled answers. They're not necessarily valid, but you don't want to dig in too deeply to figure out if someone's giving you accurate information or if they're trying to get you off the phone, because if it is accurate information and you dig a bit too deeply trying to uncover whether or not they're telling you the truth, for example, and you encounter a wall, you could burn that lead, and that's not necessarily something that you want to do. If you could follow up for a second call, and maybe it's just a timing issue. And there are a lot of things like that you really kind of have to, it seems, get a feel for quite quickly to be successful. Like understanding when someone bristles a little bit, it's just, you can call them again. It's going to run through the cadence, and there's another time to talk.
It's interesting. Like, I think what you're talking about right now, or the way I would qualify that, it's a skill that's kind of hard to teach. That's like emotional intelligence, basically.
Yeah.
You're kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's like understanding, tonality, and we all have these micro expressions that we're not really aware of, and just day-to-day conversations and stuff. So learning to hear that, it helps me as a musician because I'm always listening to how people, I have to listen to transcribe, for example. So it's easy for me to hear, if I irritated somebody with just the wrong word track. And then generally I try not to backtrack, because it also kind of tells them that that you may have made a mistake, and it's sometimes it's nice to just direct the call all the way to the end. And if they have to leave with sending them some information and a follow-up in a couple of days, sometimes that's the best approach if you've made a fumble.
Cool, that makes sense. I think I have a hunch on what your answer might be to this one, but I'm curious. What do you think your most useful sales tool is in your tool belt?
I laugh a lot. Maybe that's disarming. It makes people makes people kind of lighter. It's hard to have a conversation when everybody is a bit stiff,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I was
pretty easygoing.
My hunch was that you were going to go back to your music roots again and your active listening skills, but I like that you changed it up a little on me. That was good. So we talked before you started working with Net2Phone, so I know that you have your own history with sales. But why do you keep coming back to sales? Like, why do you like it?
It's interesting. I think for some people, they like the pressure to perform. Maybe it's like I don't know how to paraphrase, but the diamond grows under pressure kind of thing, right? So I think salespeople really they have a knack for putting themselves in situations that may be a bit more challenging than the average person, and then finding out ways to thrive and excel. And I like sales because it puts you in an environment like that where it demands the best of you in order for you to actually be effective at your job. So you have to be switched on, you have to be engaged, you have to show up to call. It doesn't matter necessarily what's going on in your day-to-day life. There is a responsibility to perform, and I think it creates resilience and character. And these are fantastic skills. Whether or not you look long-term to work in sales, they're fantastic places to kind of crack your teeth and develop some professional capabilities, I would say, in business or anything, really.
Yeah, I love that for a couple of reasons. I think, I would agree sales is like a super transferable skill. And it just teaches you a lot of I think acumen that can help you be successful everywhere. Yeah, I think just generally speaking, it's I echo that for sure. Okay, so for anyone thinking about going into an SDR role or considering sales a little more closely, what would you have for advice for that person?
like I would recommend exploring like why you want to get into sales, because it's not easy. And there are different reasons why people approach sales. Some of them, they like it because it's active, it's engaging. Some people are in it because they can control their own income. There's the capacity where the only real ceiling is your ability to perform and deliver. And I think for people who are motivated and hungry, that's definitely an attribute that you want to have. And I would say just, to evaluate that, listen to some successful sales agents, from the past couple decades. There are a lot of successful personal development coaches that have backgrounds in sales that can kind of give you an idea of like what to expect. Most people who start off in sales aren't successful. That's my general opinion. They may have natural ability, but it's an industry where you really have to put time in, and you really have to have the ability to reflect on yourself. And that helped me at the start of my job. Was just, I hadn't really been in sales apart from running a landscaping business for a few years. And I had to listen to my own calls and just kind of listen to what kind of mistakes I was making, where they were frequently popping up. And just, you have to have that self observation. I think, that really helps you be successful in sales.
I think what I like a lot about what you're saying is like there's sort of that analytical piece, and like it's not just something that you're going to be good at right away, and that's very much a reality. But I think the whole sales industry has to fight against this stigma of like people just mindlessly calling and sending messages to like everything. Like there are people that do it, but like they're not always good.
Yeah, no, of course. Like I think part of it too, of like just drawing back to that point of being present, is that if you're not doing that, then it's really quick to become robotic, and you're not effective when you're selling from that kind of perspective, like whether it's you're speaking monotonously and engaging. These things really matter.
I think so too. Perfect. I mean, it's just like any conversation. If you're talking to someone that's like not engaged, like,
for sure. Like if they say the same thing, like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, "Yeah, I'm just hoping to start a conversation about your phones." It's not going to go very well.
I would love to hear your first cold call now.
Oh man. No.
So another question I have for you, because I know that you did some experience, especially I think you mentioned your landscaping company. You did some like door-to-door kind of sales, and so I think during your interview we actually talked about it a little bit. But how do you find the transition from door-to-door to phone sales?
It's less exercise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, it's nice. There are still parallels. You're talking with people. It's just kind of reorganizing things. You don't have body language. You don't have the ability to make eye contact. There are certain things that you lose when you move to phone-based selling, but I still enjoy it. I still I try to aim to make someone laugh in a phone call. It really relaxes the atmosphere and it makes it a lot more enjoyable, and it's easier to do the job, I think.
What do you think your success rate is with making someone laugh on a phone call?
Oh, it depends. I'd say 50-50.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, cool. So like I want to know a little bit about how you organize your day. What is your like start of your day routine look like? How do you get into the mode?
Wake up, shower, 2 coffees, and I go.
And do you drink them black?
Black, yeah, black. I got my girlfriend just got us an AeroPress, so I've been really enjoying that. I had a French press, and they're just such a pain because you got to rinse it, you got to smash it a little bit to get all the grinds out of the basket, and now I got my AeroPress, and I can get my red eyes, which is like a little bit of espresso.
Yeah, man, you were on the train. That's hardcore, drinking espresso before you can start. All right,
I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go.
And so when you have like your day of like not making people laugh, or it just doesn't, it feels like a long day of sales. How do you get away a little bit? How do you like disconnect?
It's a bit difficult because of the lockdown, but I like to ride my bicycle. I like to listen to music. it's nice to exercise too. I have a gym that I built in my parents' garage. They're both quite old, but my brother, he lives at home, and I'm able to use the gym, social distance, and I'm able to get some exercise. So that's one of my main ways of unwinding. Just trying to get some time in the gym at the end of the day and just refocus.
Yeah, I definitely I hear that. It's a you have to be a little more creative, I think, in terms of what you do outside of work at this point.
Yeah, like you go for a walk around the neighborhood.
Yeah, like we're really good at baking bread now.
Yeah. What kind of bread? What kind of bread do you guys make?
Like all of the bread. We have like rosemary breads going. Sometimes we're doing pretzels. Like,
Can I place an order for olive bread?
Pardon?
Can I get some olive bread?
So my girlfriend hates olives, so we don't do olive bread. That is the one that we don't do.
Oh no, olive focaccia, man, olive focaccia.
I know it's like it's hard for me. Like I really like olives, but
yeah,
if we're gonna share it, she doesn't want it. So
awesome. So the sourdough bread though, and the rye, I guess, eh?
Yeah, I like rye a lot. The caraway,
oh
so
yeah,
good.
amazing.
Cool. So that pretty much brings us close to the end of this. So I kind of want to leave it at like an idea of, what's next for you. What are you thinking to do this summer?
There are a couple of projects that I have around the house. We're hoping to build a greenhouse, so we'll see if we can get that. We laid the foundation in the backyard 2 winters ago, so just applying for the permit, and hopefully we can get that going. Because as I said, I was in landscaping. I studied horticulture in my early 20s, and I have tropical plants in my living room. I try to keep them alive all winter long. I have these bananas that they go out in the spring, and they don't look like bananas, but they come in the fall, and they're just glorious. And I've been doing that for about 10 years. So
wow.
Yeah, just hoping to get some bigger plants and to get them in the greenhouse. And I don't know, it's not really much else you can do right now except work on the house.
Yeah, exactly. Like we are actually just starting to get our garden going again this year. But last year was like the first time we even got one happening. And so I'm like, some of them are tomatoes, for example. They grew huge, but not fruiting.
Interesting. Did you trim them? That's one of the things that you want to make sure you're doing with tomatoes.
No, I didn't trim them.
Yeah, it's because you have to like trick them from switching from the vegetation cycle to the flowering cycle, and the flowering cycle is what yields the fruit, which is the tomato, right?
Yeah.
So if you trim the branches, and you'll promote more flowers and you get more fruit.
Okay, I'm learning.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris, for joining us on the call today. If you guys want to learn a little more about Chris and how you can get hooked up with some of the solutions that Chris offers with Net2Phone, I'm going to tag him in this one, and you can get in touch with him from there.
Thanks so much for your time today, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thanks again, Chris.